occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack, Worley III.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and members of the Mack Pack. I'm Mack, Worley III, and this is On the Move, the show that attempts to inspire you to stand up for your rights. The date is July 20th, 2014, and as usual, we have an amazing show in store for you today. Today around 5:20 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're going to be joined by special guests. We have two of them today. They're from the movie Burden of Freedom. We're going to be joined by Kenny DeSoto Ramos, and he's a screenwriter of the movie. And we're also going to be joined by Kyle Hester, who will be the lead actor in the film. So I'm really excited about that. We're going to have some interviews with them today, and I'm really excited that they're going to be joining us on the show. If you haven't heard about the movie Burden of Freedom yet, this movie is really something that's amazing to me. The movie is about the struggle that our troops are going through when they return home from war. Burden of Freedom, themovie.com says the film will spread awareness of PTSD. For those of you who don't know, that's post-traumatic stress disorder. It will spread awareness about that in an impactful and dramatic way. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss the interview with them. It's gonna be good stuff. So we're also going to be taking your listener calls and reading your emails. We're going to talk about whatever comes our way, so feel free to call in with any topics of your own that you would like to discuss. If you want to join the conversation today, the Mack Pack phone lines are open, so please give us a call. The number to the show is 619-924-0986. Again, that's 619-924-0986, or you can email the show at talk@onthemoveshow.com. And you can also check us out here at blogtalkradio.com/onthemoveshow. Make sure you follow us on there. You can check our website out, onthemoveshow.com. Also, you can like our Facebook page, facebook.com/onthemoveshow. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/onthemoveshow. You can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/onthemoveshow. So, and on our website, just so you guys know, we do have a shop link on the homepage. We got hundreds of products for sale on there, ranging from T-shirts to freeze-dried food to books that I'd recommend reading and bumper stickers. There's a whole lot more other stuff on there, so feel free to check it out. Your purchases will help make our show bigger and better, and I really do appreciate your guys' support on that. So first things first, I want to talk about a video that we just released, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's the second installment of our Man on the Street series that we're doing, and this one, again, this was all for the Johnny Rocket Launchpad. So if you are not familiar with them, I would highly recommend checking them out. It's a Libertarian podcast by Johnny Adams or Johnny Rocket, and you know, they talk about a lot of libertarian ideas. And one thing that they say, their motto is launching ideas in your direction. So anyway, we went out and we did some trivia, some Man on the Street for people, and we were asking them several questions. And in this video, we're asking two different questions. And I'll go ahead and play the clip for you guys so you can hear it for yourself. Here it is. If I can get it to load.
Welcome to On the Move.
Hey everybody, this is Mack with On the Move. Today we're out in the park asking questions for the Johnny Rocket Launchpad. How many movies are in the Matrix trilogy?
I have no idea.
You want to take a guess?
Yeah, let me say 4.
What is Operation Fast and Furious? How many movies are in the Matrix trilogy?
2, right?
What is Operation Fast and Furious?
It's
not the movies.
I don't know why I'm thinking of the movies.
Yeah.
They're fantastic, though.
It's not a military plan. It's something...
What Fast and Furious are they on right now? 6?
It's 7.
7? Okay, and then I bet this is for like 7 or 8, trying to replace the guy who died recently.
Oh, that makes me sad.
How many movies are in the Matrix trilogy?
3? 2?
That's correct, 3. Okay. Trilogy 3.
Hey, yeah.
Okay. What is Operation Fast and Furious?
Go fast.
How many movies are in the Matrix trilogy?
3 because of the trilogy?
That's right. What is Operation Fast and Furious?
I have no idea, but they're great movies. That's all I know about that.
How many movies are in the Matrix trilogy?
3.
What is Operation Fast and Furious?
From the Fast and Furious movies?
How many movies are in the Matrix trilogy?
3.
3.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. There you go. What is Operation Fast and Furious?
Driving the car. I don't know. I know it's a movie.
How many movies are in the Matrix trilogy?
3, I'm guessing. Trilogy, you know?
Yeah.
Totally. I've never actually seen one, but based on the word trilogy, I'm going to say 3.
That was awesome. You nailed it. All right. So what is Operation Fast and Furious?
Something with Vin Diesel. You'd have to ask my mom. I have no idea.
How many movies are in the Matrix trilogy?
I believe there's 4. One of them's a cartoon.
And what is Operation Fast and Furious?
Operation Fast and Furious. That one I'm kind of ignorant on, but I would say it has something to do with the movies Fast and Furious.
How many movies are in the Matrix trilogy?
Can't tell you that.
You want to take a guess?
4.
What is Operation Fast and Furious?
Operation Fast and Furious. I couldn't tell you.
How many movies are in the Matrix trilogy?
I'm going to go with 6.
Okay. The correct answer is 5.
Oh, I had a bonus.
Okay, and what is Operation Fast and Furious?
I have no idea.
All right, so that's the video. You can check it out. It's on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/OnTheMoveShow. Like I said, we did that man on the street for the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, and you can check them out at johnnyrocketlaunchpad.com. They have, like I said, a really good show. Great people over there. I'd highly recommend checking out that podcast. So I want to talk about something else just for a moment here. I feel like I do need to address this. I already posted about it on Facebook, and many of you have commented on that and liked the status and all that good stuff. But I want to just take a moment to read the statement that I posted on Facebook the other day and then comment on it a little bit. All right, so I'll read it here. It's come to my attention that the police officers involved in my unlawful arrest may be receiving threats. I don't know if this is actually happening or what the details may or may not be. However, I would like to take the opportunity to speak about this. For the record, I do not condone or support the use of violence or threats. The answer to the Vancouver Police Department's lawlessness is not more lawlessness. We shall pursue all legal avenues in order to make things right. One important way of doing that is changing the way the police interact with open carriers. I hope that we can prevent this kind of gross violation of civil liberties from happening to anyone again. I know that I don't have to say this to the vast majority of you. Most of you do not need to hear that. But just in case I wasn't clear where I stood on this, I figured I would let it be known. And I would like to see a change in the way the Vancouver Police Department deals with people who open carry firearms. I don't want this to be a us versus them situation. I am, however, not looking to cozy up with them either. They're not our friends, but they don't have to treat us like they're enemies either. We're not their enemies. We're just law-abiding citizens. So, I'm not sure if the rumors of the threats are actually true or not, but in case they are, either way, I don't support lawlessness. And whether or not that lawlessness is coming from the VPD or anyone, I don't support lawlessness. Do not do anything that is going to land you guys in jail. So anyway, we have the next segment of the show that we're going to start. This segment is called This Day in History.
This Day in History.
Because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
Yesterday, what our country can do for you.
Mr. Gorbachev teared down this wall.
And the people who knock these buildings down.
A date which will live in infamy.
We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender.
Okay, on this day in history, according to Yahoo News, on July 20th in 1861, the Congress of the Confederate States convened in Richmond, Virginia. In 1871, British Columbia entered the Confederation as a Canadian province. In 1917, the World War I draft lottery went into operation. In 1923, Mexican revolutionary leader Pancho Villa was assassinated. In 1954, the Geneva Accords divided Vietnam into northern and southern entities. In 1969, astronauts Neil Armstrong and Edwin Buzz Aldrin became the first men to walk on the moon after reaching the surface in their Apollo 11 lunar module. And I'll come back to the rest of this in a second here, but I like to comment on some of these every now and then. I do find the whole moon landing and things like that to be a really inspirational story, a story about American, ingenuity. And a lot of people, they didn't believe that it was even possible for this kind of thing to happen. People didn't even think that it was even possible for Americans to land on the moon, for anyone to land on the moon. And it wasn't until after JFK really issued that challenge that we really started thinking it was possible. On top of that, if you actually look back, Walt Disney, he created the first cartoon, I believe, about this, and it really started to make people think that, hey, this is something that's actually possible. We could actually land on the moon. So feel free to look all that stuff up. It's out there. So anyway, in 1974, Turkish forces invaded Cyprus after a coup by supporters of the Union with Greece. And in 1976, American Viking 1 robot spacecraft made a successful first ever landing on Mars. And, I'm very excited. 1976, let's just put this in a little perspective here. 1976 was exactly 38 years ago. So 38 years ago, we managed to get an unmanned spacecraft on Mars. And this goes to what we were talking about before. 38 years ago, why haven't we landed on Mars yet and put actual American feet on the ground in Mars? It can be done. We obviously know it can be done. It's just a matter of how it can be done. And I'm really looking forward to the future of this, of seeing what will happen with space exploration and things like that. I'm a big nerd when it comes to this kind of stuff, big sci-fi nerd. So, I love American space exploration, stuff like that, and I'm really looking forward. Right now it's 2014, and I'm still looking forward to space travel. I was promised space travel by now. Where is it? I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. Anyway, that's our This Day in History. We're moving on. If you want to join the conversation today, please give us a call. The number to the show is 619-924-0986, or you can email the show at talk@onthemoveshow.com. And at this point, we're going to take our first commercial break, and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mack Worley III.
All right, we're back. So, when we last left, we were doing the This Day in History segment. As I said before, we are going to be joined by special guest Kenny DeSoto Ramos, and he's the screenwriter of Burden of Freedom. We also have Kyle Hester on the line. He's the lead actor in the film. I have Kenny on the line here, and I just want to see, I have a caller here. I don't know who this is. Is this Kyle? Hey, Kyle, you there?
This is Kyle.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem at all. So, Kenny, you're on the line too. Can you hear me?
That's correct. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Okay, all right. Everybody's here. So, first things first, I want to give you guys an opportunity to kind of describe your movie and what it's all about. So, can you give our listeners some insight into that?
Sure. It's, well, basically, the way this began, this started around November 2010. Kyle and I, who are good friends, we go way back to the filming of Andersonville in 1994. We decided in November of 2010 in Disneyland, our favorite place, we were walking around and we were having some dinner. Kyle and I walked outside just to chat for a minute, and he says, "Hey, man, look, what are we doing?" He says, "Why don't we make our own movies? Why don't we make our own films?" And I looked at him and my jaw just dropped, and I'm like, I felt like I had come to the promised land. That was like, those are like the best words I'd ever heard. We shook hands. Yeah, we shook hands, and I was rocketing to the moon in my mind. Kyle and I wandered all over Disneyland, talking about our new venture. And within 6 months, I had the very first draft of Burden of Freedom. Burden of Freedom is a very, very powerful subject, very, very powerful topic. It's a subject that covers a U.S. Army captain who comes back from the war in Iraq. And by the way, he's a decorated veteran. He wins the Silver Star for heroism on the battlefield. But he basically, unfortunately, comes back to the biggest battle of his entire life, even bigger than battle or war. And that is the very unfortunate real situation called PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. It is a message of hope, a message of courage, a message of human spirit, where it basically illustrates the power and the capability of human beings not only to suffer as greatly as our main character, Captain Brian Daniel, played by the one and only Mr. Kyle Hester. Yay! And he basically comes home and fights with this very, very difficult situation. The wonderful thing about this story, not only is it packed with drama and action and cinematic, spectacular scenery and powerful dialogue between the characters, but the thing is, as he struggles through this PTSD, he eventually, at the end of the story, is a message of hope and human victory. And so this story is, it's incredible. We have a director who has filmed 6 movies with James Cameron and has a huge resume in Hollywood. We have a spectacular, stellar cast, beginning, with none other than Kyle Hester, who is personally given accolades by and adorations by the legendary John Frankenheimer during the filming of Andersonville in 1994. And unfortunately, his short, he passed very shortly thereafter. Otherwise, Kyle would be on, TMZ and Hollywood, and he'd be, the multi-billion-dollar star already. Thanks because of that. Kyle and I are partners. Thanks, Kyle, for waiting for me.
No problem. Glad to do it.
Yeah. So long story short is Burden of Freedom is a message of hope, and it engages a very powerful topic called PTSD. And Kyle is going to slam this home. He is the best actor on the globe for this role. And we're very, very, very excited. I'll hand it over to Kyle, and he can talk about it as well.
So before But before you go ahead, Kyle, I want to ask a couple of questions here. Is this something that is that's actually like based on a true story of somebody that you know, or is this like a fictional representation of what's happening to a lot of our troops now?
Burden of Freedom is based on, when it opens up, it deals with the Battle of Najaf, Iraq in 2003, which was a real battle, a real historic battle. That was the initial thrust into, Baghdad when the war first began in 2003. That is an actual historical battle. Now, like the movie Glory, if any of you are, war movie buffs or aficionados, the 54th was kind of, it was a real regiment and all this kind of thing, but all the characters were fictional. That is very much the kind of model that I use here with Burden of Freedom. Captain Brian Daniel, never really existed. It's a character I developed for Kyle. Soldiers and his first sergeant, which is a great actor by the name of Peter Murnick, who is currently he's been on programs like Justified and so on and so forth. He is Kyle's first sergeant. These are fictional characters based on a historic battle. Now, we don't go all into the battle, the historic elements of it. It's not a documentary. It's just the backdrop, just like Antietam was the backdrop for Glory, right? The story is of fictional characters dealing with a real-life situation, PTSD, and the horrors and the dilemma that it currently presents to not only our active military soldiers, but also our returned veterans. And so that's the backdrop of it. Know that characters are fictional. Historically, the backdrop is true. The events that happen within the story are all fictional, but real-life, actual representations of what these poor soldiers go through when they deal with the horrific ailment called PTSD. 10,000 words is probably a short answer.
Well, no, yeah, that answers the question. I really do appreciate it. So Kyle, I've been looking at your acting reel that you have on burdenofreedomthemovie.com, and I have to say I'm pretty impressed. Can you give us some of the background of some of the other movies you've been in?
Well, sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having us on the show. I really appreciate it. And I think that, showcasing all of these elements, and Ken is a phenomenal writer. But as far as things that I've done acting-wise, I think starting off with Andersonville, which is where Ken and I met, it was I think that was one of the things that you might recognize that John Frankenheimer directed in the Civil War battle, and it was that was an amazing experience. But I've also done Last Dance with Sharon Stone, and up to recently I was in Book of Daniel, and it's on America's Most Wanted. Actually, one of the last episodes before they canceled it. And then, we have Burden of Freedom coming out, and I also have another film that's going to be happening, a little horror film called The Chair that I'll be shooting here in November. So, and a lot of theater. I've been doing this for a long time. So movies and commercials and music videos and some Van Halen videos back in the day when they did videos. So, yeah, but thank you very much. I'm glad you like the acting reel.
Oh yeah, that was really cool. I've been checking out everything on the website that you guys have. Again, for our listeners, it's burdenofreedomthemovie.com. And one thing you said on there, and I was reading over everything on this. You said PTSD is very personal for you, and that you have friends that are suffering with it currently, and also that have lost a battle. I was wondering if you could elaborate on that a little bit and tell us some of your personal experiences, how PTSD has touched your life.
Well, without giving any names, I have personal friends that have been in the army and then have gone and seen battle in Iraq, and that were in both of the the initial war there and then Iraqi freedom, and he's a good friend of mine, very high ranking now, and I've seen him go through a lot of the stuff that we represent in the film, and seen him struggle with it. And but I also have a friend of mine that did lose his battle with it, and he was one of the unfortunately the 22 people who take their lives every day because of this. So that's a personal. That's about as personal as you can get for that. So it's very, very real, and it's like I don't think that people could really understand what these guys go through when they get back unless you either have been there or that you have friends and you can kind of witness what they go through. And because war changes you ultimately, and it just depends upon the degree that you are changed by it. But I don't think that anyone could go into a situation like that and see things that you can't even imagine, and not be affected. So that's how it's personal for me.
Yes, sir. Well, I do appreciate you sharing that with us. So I have another question for you as far as what you are looking to this movie to accomplish. What are your goals with this movie as far as bringing more attention and awareness to PTSD?
Well, I think the way that you bring attention to things is by making something amazing. That first of all, Rick, is that we are making a film. And I think that we wanted to make it as dramatic and impactful and edge of your seat and all the things that make going to a movie exciting and that makes you want to watch it from beginning to end. What's going to happen? So I think that bringing all of those elements to make like an amazing film was the first point of how are we gonna get people in the seats so that we can, ultimately, spread this message of hope that we would like to achieve. So making a brilliant film, which is yet to be filmed. But that is the goal, and hopefully we can do that. And by doing that, and we'll, get the attention that I think it deserves. So that's what I have.
Yes, sir. So. Okay, so Kenny, I got a question for you. You said that this all started in November 2010, and obviously that's about 4 years from now. So, how far along is this in production right now? Where are you guys at right now in the filming process?
So we're very much, from a filming perspective, we're very much. I know 4 years sounds like a long time. We're very much still in the infant stages, if you will. We kind of wish we had the money now, but and that's basically where we're at. We're in the funding phase. We started the script, we completed the script, we started bringing on key people on board, to help out from a production perspective. There's been a lot of planning. We've become an LLC company, this, and that, and the other, and it's been a lot of kind of administrative kind of construction, if you will, the formulation of the film team. Kyle and I have been working nonstop, day in and day out, from Dark 30 to Dark 30 in the morning to evening. Hundreds and thousands of phone calls, if you will, working back and forth on strategizing. We actually have a bigger vision for, a bigger kind of a film production approach with many films. We've got a number of films lined up. Burden of Freedom is the first of many, many, many in the partnership between Kyle and I. Right now with Burden of Freedom, we have started, a funding process or phase, if you will. But it was, let's look at it this way. When you're in high school, you build your first car, right? And you say, go ahead, Jim, start it up. You get the thing, it finally cranks, and it finally gets started. We kind of had an engine start to see if the thing would run. Recently, maybe several months ago, actually, we needed to do some more work in terms of socializing our message, preparing the landscape, if you will, in terms of who knows who we are. And that's really what we need to do, is we need to, that's the real importance of this, you having us on the show, is the ability to, blast out or shout out who we are, the fact that we exist, and that this is a very, very, very powerful film. Here's just a small taste, and I know we don't like to jump the gun. Here's a small taste of our kind of reach. We're actually getting feedback from people in Hollywood. We're actually getting people coming back and making comments. For example, we have, Montel Williams has actually made comments on our Twitter and has, retweeted Kyle and, communicated back and forth with people on our team. He has actually come out and said, have I mentioned that I really, really love this? Montel is a former U.S. Navy and Marine, right? I believe an officer, if I'm not mistaken. He's really got, he's holding the torch high about this whole, veterans benefits and PTSD help and so on and so forth. So he's really, taken an eye at our project and really, really likes what he sees. So with all that said, we are knocking on the doors of Hollywood. We are getting people involved, and we want to socialize this as best we can before we officially relaunch our next phase of our funding for the purposes of producing this film. So that's kind of where we are. We're preparing the ship, if you will, to relaunch that, let's call it second phase 2 funding, or whatever you want to call it. But that's what we're doing right now. Kyle and I are getting all the, we're doing all the logistics and getting all the supplies together, if you will, so that we can launch that, next thrust of the pack called
and all that good stuff.
So as far as your current budget and everything like that that you're trying to get to, what number are you trying to get to? How much money do you guys need for this?
We're looking to raise about $300,000 to do the film, and that would be kind of like a baseline that we would, need to shoot. So obviously, if we could, have investors to do more than that, then we'd be able to play with more of the special effects and stuff like that. That'd be because there's a lot of stuff that we'll be using, effects-wise too.
Right. If Jerry Bruckheimer came and called us and said, hey, look, I'll give you a couple million, well, yeah, then we can make the explosions more explosive and, the scenes more grand and, put in maybe, 25 Chinooks as opposed to the couple that we're trying to find kind of thing, But, yeah, I mean, as Kyle is saying, the more money we get, the more grandiose, Hollywood-esque we can make the film. But, yeah, we're kind of looking at the core DNA of financial as around that figure that Kyle mentioned. So that's what we're working towards.
That's like a baseline, to be able to launch what we want to do.
So as far as your investors that you're looking for right now, are you taking donations from just anybody, or who are you looking to invest in this?
We're getting go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's going to be a combination of all. I mean, we're going to do the Indiegogo campaign again. We're going to sell some stuff on eBay. We're going to take donations. We're going to sell T-shirts. We're going to obviously bring on investors. Anyone that would want to invest in the film, we're certainly open for all of that. So basically, it's grassroots. So whatever we need to do, that we're going to do. So it's like if people want to donate things to us to auction off, we'll do that. But it's we're like a couple of guys with the vision and passion, and we're not a Hollywood production team, or we're not a studio, so we don't have deep pockets. So it's one of those things where it's going to take all of us, indie film people that are passionate about making movies and are passionate about this message, and we want to have people to become a part of it and come on board. And even if it's as simple as buying a shirt, it's like every shirt that we sell, if we have to sell 20,000 shirts, to make the film, and that's what we're going to do. Hopefully we don't do that, but we will.
And make no mistake about it. I mean, having said that, we don't want the world to think that, okay, these guys are basically doing a high school project film. No, we are talking about, this is a professional, 1,000% professionally planned and built film team for example, Sam Rosenthal is our cinematographer. He's running. We did our sizzle reel on one of the most highest, latest, and greatest technology called Red Camera. Those are not inexpensive, right? No. Those are the latest and greatest, most high def. You name it, man. This is incredible photography.
One of the first Star Wars on the Red.
Yep.
So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And as far as the cast goes, I mean, Kyle Hester, notwithstanding, one of the most spectacular actors I have ever set my eyes on. In addition, we have people like Rosanna DeSoto, who was in La Bamba. She's actually a family member who will be in this film. We have Peter Murnick, Eileen Gruba, and Alicia Lara. These are people that are actually working in Hollywood on film and TV. And our director, as I mentioned, 6 times working with, James Cameron. His teams have won Academy Awards. So this team is in no way, shape, or form. We're not talking about minor leagues here. We're talking about a full-up, highest.
Oh yeah,
quality.
we're making real movies, so it's just and people need to get paid for what they do, and it costs money to to rent equipment and cameras and lights and climate, all of it. It's like the movies are not free to make, so that's and we're making a real one.
So we're real excited about that.
As far as how people can actually, no worries. As far as how people can actually help support your project, do you have like a donation link or a store right now that people can buy things from?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
We have a website, and it's www.burdenofreedomthemovie.com is our actual website. You can literally go there. You can purchase T-shirts, and the $35 helps us, get to our ultimate end game. You can also invest. As Kyle mentioned before, we're looking for investors. Our Burden of Freedom, the movie Facebook site, also has a donate button on there. You can actually go to Facebook now and look at that on Facebook. So we have that medium as well as our website, as well as Twitter. You can reach Kyle and I through the Twitter website. Anybody and everybody who wants to donate $1, $5, or $5,000 or $500,000. We're open to anything. So, as Kyle said, donations and investments. Right, Kyle?
That's right. Absolutely.
So I can see that on the website now. I'm looking at it right now. You got dog tags for $12.95 and T-shirts for $35. Down at the bottom, everybody, they have a donation button. Feel free to donate to their movie. And I'm looking at your Facebook page for the movie. It's facebook.com/Burden of Freedom the movie. And I highly recommend everybody check that out. Make sure you like their page. They got 1,828 likes right now. Let's see a bump in that, guys. Send them some more likes their way. But anyway, Kenny and Kyle, we got to take a quick commercial break. Would you guys mind sticking around for a moment while we do that?
Absolutely.
Kenny, you're gonna take over from me, my friend. I'm actually working on this Sunday, so I'm gonna have to run. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me on, and for helping us to spread this powerful message that we're trying to do. And let's make some movies, and let's be brilliant while we're doing it, and we'll try to help people along the way as much as we can.
Well said. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Kyle. We'll be back with more with Kenny DeSoto Ramos, and we're going to be talking more about the Burden of Freedom movie. And don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/OnTheMoveShow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LAGOSHA, Worley@gmail.com, for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mack Worley III.
We're back. I appreciate you all sticking with us. So when we last left, we had Kenny DeSoto Ramos on the line, and we were talking about the movie Burden of Freedom. You can check them out at burdenoffreedomthemovie.com. You can also check them out on their Facebook page, Burden of Freedom the Movie. Again, that's facebook.com/Burden of Freedom the Movie. So make sure you check out their page, like it. If you would like to donate and help them fund their movie, you can do so on their Facebook page or their website. And I have Kenny on the line here. Hey, Kenny, you still there?
Yes, sir. Still here. Thank you.
All right. Well, again, I just want to say thanks for coming on the show today. I have a couple of other questions here I wanted to ask you in regards to the movie, the filming of this and everything. As far as the media that you guys are doing right now, are you out there, trying to stir up some more publicity about this, or what have you done so far?
Absolutely, yeah. So basically, as I mentioned, we're using social media, as kind of our platform to start off. As I mentioned, you've brought up Facebook and Twitter, and then we also have our website. We're also doing, whatever we can to shout out to various people that we know. We have a large network of people that are, following us, phone calls that we're making to try and, get people to know that we exist. For example, one of our team members recently was at a Paramount shindig in Hollywood, and basically military veterans and so on and so forth were at this Hollywood and military. There's a big kind of a partnership going on with military as well as Hollywood. And some discussions were had by one of our members at that time, and just kind of trying to raise awareness and get the word out. We obviously don't have the resources for commercials, or you go to the movies and look at the trailer there or anything like that. So we do it indie film style. Walk the streets, talk the talk, make the phone calls, talk with our networking with people. Fortunately, Kyle has an enormous Rolodex or contact of people that he knows in Hollywood. That are we're all trying to get to that point, and so there's a lot of phone calls being made. The next wave, I guess, or strategic direction is that, we're kind of, as I mentioned, we're kind of rebuilding our baseline of launch, if you will, by preparing ourselves for not only the next phase of funding, but we're also setting ourselves up strategically with a roadmap that tells us, who do we want to go after, right? Who do we want to contact? Who do we want to call? Who do we want to get that word out to? And so we've kind of got a preliminary map of those kinds of people. We want to reach out to everyone from, not only the Hispanic community, Hispanic military veterans, military veteran groups in and of itself, regardless of race or cultural background. We want to reach out to, as I mentioned, historical groups. We want to reach out to several film organizations. And, the most important thing, I think, is that, we reach out. These military groups, there's a very large, effort right now going on. I'm sure politically, and our callers probably know politically, everybody is trying to improve upon the situation involved with PTSD and the enormous amount of soldiers that are coming home. It is a very, very, very hot political topic right now in this country. Now, although Burden of Freedom, we're not making a political message. Sure, PTSD is very much involved in the political discussion. what we're trying to do is to force and make change. How are we trying to do that? We want to make this film. We want to make it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be incredibly touching and powerful and emotional. And that voice is going to be heard, right? Our mission and our goal is to have somebody back east in that big White House, right, hear our message and somebody come to bear. And hopefully this will conjure up the forces that say, we want change, we want change, we want change. And when people, our dream is like when people talk about PTSD and the horrific effects behind it, people will say, well, have you ever seen the movie Burden of Freedom? Oh, okay, right. That's what my uncle has or my son has or my husband or whatever. That's what we're up against right now. And that's the kind of help that we need. And that's the kind of cure that we need. So we're hoping that socializing in the way that I just mentioned, outside of, like I said, social media, reaching out to the various organizations, reaching out to the various groups. We had film members attend a veterans motorcycle in Hollywood recently, actually several months ago. There was a cast of one of the TV programs that are currently being shown, and Eileen Gruber was there, and so on and so forth. And they basically were trying to raise awareness and gain attention for our veterans and things that they suffer. So, these kinds of events that happen where we step out and we get involved, those are the kind of things that we want to do to socialize. The periodicals as well. You want to reach out to like Variety and various other periodicals to see if somebody will do an interview with us, like what's happening here, because this is a very important project, a very important topic. 23 a day is not a slight statistic; it's a horrific statistic, and we want to change that. We want to change that as much as we can. And if Montel Williams is going to stand up with us and shout with us from the top of the roofs, then that's what we need.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And as far as some of the media outlets, might I recommend because it seems like this is something that would be right up their alley. Have you guys attempted to contact the Blaze radio network?
The Blaze radio network? No.
Oh wow. Okay. So it's Glenn Beck. He's a conservative radio guy. Anyway, they started a network called The Blaze, theblaze.com. I'd highly recommend you guys contact them. This to me seems like something that would be right up their alley. You guys could, no problem, I'm guessing, get some kind of media exposure, at least on their website, and they could funnel a lot of people your way. You should look into, a lot of the conservative media, people like Mark Levin, Lars Larson. They have a whole bunch of other of people that would support this kind of thing. A lot of people are very, very, very supportive of our troops coming in, not just on the conservative side, but that side is mobilized and people are ready to help. They're just waiting to help. And for example, Kenny, right now, I'm sure you're familiar with what's going on down at the border. There's a big humanitarian crisis that's going on. The only group that I've been able to find that's raised any money whatsoever for this crisis has been the Blaze Network. Right now, they've raised over $2 million from donations from listeners. So,
oh my God!
So this is the kind of stuff that's happening from people who supposedly hate. Illegal immigrants. That's the media spin on it. But these people are very giving, very, very charitable. The conservatives out there that I know are just waiting for a cause to get involved in, and I think that your cause is something that people would be really excited to get involved with. So I'd highly recommend you checking that out. I can later off air or something. I'll give you guys some links to contact people.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. I greatly appreciate it.
You're very welcome. It's a huge audience out there as well. I think the Blaze is like the one of the top 10 most viewed websites on the internet or something like that nowadays. So
wow.
You should look into it. It could definitely give you guys a huge boost. Anyway, as far as some things about the actual movie and whatnot, I know you said on your website, if you could help just one person, through this, because it's in your I think the story section on the page. It says, If after, and this is you saying this, if after over 3 years of tirelessly working, hundreds of late evenings into the early mornings of writing, phone calls, meetings, and more writing, and more phone calls, and LA team meetings, and countless hundreds of hours of team phone calls and reaching out to thousands of people, if after all of that, the countless words, conversations, if we somehow, some way, in some form, help to save at least one soul, one life, through our message of hope contained within our film, Burden of Freedom, it will all have been worth it every bit. So I wanted to ask you, what has been the most rewarding part of this experience for you?
So far, the most, there are so many, wow, that's a fantastic question. There have been many. There have been several very, very, very powerfully rewarding, events that have taken place. This project, it's insanely incredible, the feedback that we're getting from human beings. I would have to say, and this is difficult, but I think this is a very, very good choice here. Of all the positive, wonderful things that have happened, I think probably the thing that happened that stands up most in my mind is when we released our sizzle reel. And by the way, we're doing some edits on our sizzle reel, so hopefully people out there will be patient with us, and very soon here we'll re-upload our sizzle reel, which is equally powerful. I'm telling you, you guys stand by for that. It is an awesome, and again, it's shot on red camera, so it's a spectacular 3-minute film trailer meant for investors, right? The most powerful thing, when we put this trailer out for the first time, right, we had people calling us on the phone in tears, thanking us from the bottom of their heart because they lost husbands, because they lost sons, because they lost a nephew or a cousin or whatever it was, family member or a dear friend, right? One person contacted us and said that they were in tears when they saw this. They just almost couldn't breathe. It was such a powerful, not negative, it was a positive portrayal of the realism and the plight that these soldiers go through. And what brought the person to tears was that they had lost a son, but yet they were so overwhelmed and excited that somebody was coming to bear with this torch, with this message, right, about these poor souls that are trying to fight this war within themselves, and many of them are losing, right? Mm-hmm. But here's the thing that really got me and put me into tears. This person said, Kenny, God bless you. God bless you for writing this story. You don't know how many souls you're going to save with this movie. And I literally broke down. Because, I'm an artist, right? I'm a writer. Kyle's an actor. Sure, we're trying to make art. That's our goal. We're trying to make art. But we want to make art, and we want to make a difference, right? We want to improve this world. We want to make a difference. We want humans to be happy. We want the world to be right. And that's why Burden of Freedom came about. And when this lady came out, and this was our film trailer, right? This isn't our full-length film. This is, as I tell Kyle all the time since the beginning when we first started this project, I said, dude, when we write our first film, we're going to give them a small bite of that hot pizza, right? You're starving, and you're going to take a bite of that pizza, and you're going to go, oh my God, this is fantastic. This tastes okay. Well, you know what? Hang on, because you're going to get a full slice or the full pizza very soon. So that's where we're going with this. And with the sizzle reel that we filmed, we highly succeeded in delivering that message of hope in that cinematic 3-minute piece. And when that lady called and when she wrote and she said, God bless you, Kenny. God bless you for writing this story because you're going to save lives. And we've had producers on our team and team members that have said, this movie is going to save lives. And, I've had several conversations, for those of you who may be God-fearing, I've had several conversations, and all I've asked for was, please give us the opportunity to force some kind of a change and improvement. And yes, if we could save at least one soul, absolutely and totally right, it would have been all worth it. Because think of the lives in the history of that person's lineage that will have come to bear, right?
Exactly.
That would have been it. That would have been reward. And so that was probably the most. I had to give the phone. I was all choked up when she said it, And after I wiped the tears and everything, I was like, wow, that people are drawn to our art and to our message of hope and to what we're trying to do is really and truly overwhelming. Because it's not about me. It's not about Kyle. It's not about what director we have or what cat. No, sure, they're wonderful people, the best in the world, right? But the total value and meaning and message is we need to save those guys. We need to save those men and women in military uniform, the veterans. We need to save them. We have to. We have to save them. I know you probably don't have that much time, and I could probably go on forever. My exposure to military, my father was a U.S. Army Ranger, okay? He fought in Iraq. He was a paratrooper. Use your imagination, and that's what we got. That's what I got as a kid. That's what my sister got as a kid. That's what my mom got. It was a price we paid, and we were exposed to the military all our lives. We've lost family members. As a child, I was going to funerals. It was horrible, and that intimacy with the military and the sacrifice that they make, and the mistakes that they make because they sacrifice themselves to save this country and provide our freedom, is also very horrific and unfortunate. The things that, because it doesn't just involve them, right? It involves their children, their wives, their uncles, their friends. It's pervasive, right? It emanates.
Yes, sir.
And this is epidemic proportions. This is in epidemic proportions. Go to the Twitter. I beg you guys, go to Twitter. Look at our account and look at our Twitter and look on Bird and Freedom, and you'll see something that I posted there. I think it was Senator John Walsh. He says that if you press the click play, he says this is an epidemic. This is an epidemic, and the effects of which are long-reaching and unknown. This is a real big situation. We're still fighting in Afghanistan. So, yes, the most positive, powerful thing is when that lady said to me, "God bless you for writing that." And it makes me feel like, okay, I made a lot of mistakes in my life, but maybe this is something that I can right the mistakes in my life and maybe make a difference. Let's help these troops. And by the way, I think it goes to mention that Kyle and I, as partners, have committed. If we can strike with the right, Wounded Warrior, Gary Sinise Foundation, both of whom we've been trying to reach out to, we are going to put our money where our mouths are. Absolutely. If we make, if we make $1 million or whatever it may be, we're going to write a huge check to one of those enormous angels that help our military. We are absolutely going to put our money where our mouth is. We just don't know which one yet because we haven't struck a formal partnership yet. But regardless, whatever or whoever it may be, yes, we are going to turn around and give back to our troops and help financially with whatever rewards we gain. That is a promise. That's amazing. Yeah, that's really, really awesome to hear. As far as what you were saying, as far as you've made some mistakes in your life, and you're looking to maybe right those mistakes with this one action. I posted a video on my YouTube channel not too long ago, and it was by Johnny Rocket, and he was saying, what can you do for liberty? What can you do to better the cause? And I think what you guys are doing, this is your thing that you can do. For him, he was saying, if you're a craftsman, if you're able to work with wood, you can build something that says boom, liberty, put it right on your house or something. But for what you're doing, you're getting the message out, in support of our troops, and I think this is a really amazing project that you guys are doing. You guys have my full support, and I'm really happy that you guys are using what you have
at your disposal to get those messages out there, to help increase awareness about this really, it is an epidemic that's going around our troops right now, and we need to bring this to light and help them out in any way possible. So I really want to say thank you so much for coming on the show, Kenny. We're going to have to cut out and move to the next segment, but I just want to say thanks so much. Everybody, make sure you check out their website. Again, that's burdenofreedomthemovie.com, and it's facebook.com/burden of freedom the movie. Do you have any other thoughts, Kenny, that you want to say? One last thought?
No, mostly I think I would like to finish by saying, thank you so very much. God bless you for bringing us on your show and giving us the opportunity to continue that message of hope, and get out there to the world, what we're trying to do. If there was one final comment I could make is that please, everybody who's listening, share, like, $1, $5, whatever you can to donate to our filming cause. Even if you can't, and there are many people who can't, and they say, I'm so sorry. Don't worry about it. Just continue to shout out. That's all that matters. We will get this thing made. God bless you all for helping and listening. Please support us, as you said. Anything you can do to help us get this film made will be greatly appreciated. And how wonderful would that be if we could save several people's lives by getting this message out there and having people in Washington turn around and say, you know what, we need to do something about this. We need to step it up. That would be the holy grail right there. So, yes, thank you so very much. God bless you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thanks again for coming on the show. All right, guys, so at this point, we are going to cut to a commercial break, and when we get back, we'll be into the second hour of the broadcast, so don't go anywhere.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/OnTheMoveShow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mack Worley III.
Hey everybody, we are back. Thank you for sticking with us. So, I would like to talk about Burden of Freedom a little bit. I know we just covered it in great detail, but look, I think this is a very, very important cause. I think we all need to really get involved and help them, help spread the message. Now, like I was saying, what can you do for liberty? What can you do to help? What can you do? You could donate. And that was something that we talked about, and obviously you can do that on their website. I would highly recommend you do that. Now, let's say you can't donate. You're not able to, and I get it. Times are tough, the money's tight. Money's tight with me as well. If you can't donate, what can you do? You can maybe you can, I don't know, share the message, share their Facebook post it all over social media, talk to your family, talk to your friends, try to get people involved, try to talk to people, and that may actually be more beneficial than just a simple donation and nothing else, because maybe it will lead to other things. Maybe it will hit critical mass, go viral, things like that. So your assistance in that, not just with Burden of Freedom, but, with this podcast as well, sharing, talking about it, trying to help people promote what they have, what they're doing, as far as things that push towards liberty, push that forward. That's all really important. So that's one way that you can do that. So go to their page, like their page, share their statuses, retweet their tweets on Twitter and things like that. These are all really important things that you can do to help. So anyway, with that said, we're going to go ahead and move into the first segment of the show, and we like to call this Ask Mack.
It's time to ask Mack. You've got a question? He's got the answer. Time to ask Mack. When you got a question, time to ask Mack.
All right, this is a segment of the show where I answer your question. So if you have a question that you would like me to ask, like me to answer on the air, you can ask your questions in several ways. You can email us at talk@onthemoveshow.com. Of course, you can call in. The number of the show is 619-924-0986. The Mack Pack phone lines are open, so feel free to call in. Anything that you would like to talk about is on the table, so feel free. You can also post your questions at facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow. You can tweet us at OnTheMoveShow, and make sure that you include the hashtag AskMack in that tweet so I can find it. Anyway, so we have a listener who has asked a question. His name is Mark. He's from Facebook. And Mark asks, if our self-defending, well-written, sound, highest document of the law accurately defines so many negligent politicians and corporate reps having not the right to be there, why is no one removing these obvious high treasoners? So, I would like to talk about this for a moment here. As far as I'm assuming we can just relate this. Let's narrow this down to just the bare bones of it. Why are we not impeaching Obama? Why has Obama not been impeached yet? I mean, this man has clearly violated law. He's clearly went far, far past his constitutional powers that he's authorized to do. He's exceeded them. He's involved in scandal after scandal. And, I mean, just something as simple as calling Congress on recess, saying that they're not in session, and then shoving things through and when they were already in session. He doesn't have the authority to declare Congress is not in session when they are. But yet he did. He's violating the Constitution. He's walking all over the Constitution and shredding it. He doesn't even care. So, again, why is President Obama not impeached? Why has that not happened? Well, the very first answer to that question is politics. You have the left-right paradigm, okay? So obviously, Democrats are going to support Democrats, and Republicans are going to support Republicans. And it's one of those things where you don't turn on each other, and when you do, you're ostracized. Just look at Ted Cruz, everybody. Ted Cruz is really the black sheep of the Republican Party. He went against what he was supposed to do. He's calling out these rhino Republicans, and he's basically been ostracized from the mainstream of the party. So, with that said, this is one of those things where people don't step out of line. They support the president. They continue supporting the president, even though he is lawless. The number one priority of any bureaucracy is to protect the bureaucracy. So that is first and foremost their number one priority. They're not going to try to do anything that's going to shake the American public's perceptions of our government. They certainly don't want to wake the American people up to what is going on, because then we may pay attention to not just what they're stepping out about, but them themselves. And in fact, I believe it was Orrin Hatch that said that he's never met a man that came out a better person after being in Washington. And that's just simply the case. These politicians, the vast, vast majority of them are corrupt. They participate in crony capitalism. They take bribes. They take all sorts of things that they should not be doing. They're not serving the public interest. They are serving their pocketbooks. But that's not all of the reasons. So why else hasn't President Obama been impeached? Well, there's no will. And what I mean by that, there's no political will. There's no backbone in most of these people. Everything with these people is about politics. Why can't we defund Obamacare? You remember that big debacle that happened a few months back? All right, defund Obamacare. Why couldn't we do that? That was all about politics. It's not like these politicians were saying that they agreed with Obamacare, but they were like, oh, it's not going to go over well. It's, we're not going to be able to accomplish anything, and it's just going to make us shut down the government and get us in trouble and make the American people upset at us. No, if you're standing on principle, it really doesn't matter what you do as long as you're standing on principle. So the fact that they didn't have the will, it just means that these people are spineless. They aren't willing to step up and do what's right. And as we all know, what's right is not necessarily what is easy, and what is easy is not necessarily always right. So what is another reason why Obama has yet to be impeached? No articles of impeachment have been filed at all. So what else? Well, we have the November elections that we have to worry about. This is Republicans speaking here. We got to worry about the elections. Once we get Congress, once we get a majority in both the House and the Senate, we'll be able to do something about it. No, that's not going to happen. And I will tell you why. These people will then say, we got to get the White House too. And then once they get the White House, there will be nothing that should be standing in their way. But they'll come up with some other reason. We got to make compromises, or, we can't do what we want, blah, blah, blah. This is not how the other side, the left, operates. We saw what happened when they had a House and Senate majority and the White House. What happened? Obamacare was passed. Without a single Republican vote, they got what they wanted. They did exactly what they want. But it wouldn't happen with us. It wouldn't. The left will do whatever is necessary. In fact, that's the whole Saul Alinsky kind of mantra there is the ends justify the means. Lie, cheat, steal, do whatever you have to do in order to get your results. So what is another reason why Obama is yet to been impeached? Well, he has got some pretty hardcore media protection. The mainstream media does not go after this president, and I don't know if they're afraid of being called a racist or what, but they do not go after this president. They are nothing but his little cronies. They'll just sit there and back him no matter what he's doing. It doesn't matter if he's walking on the Constitution. Oh, no. Fast and Furious, Operation Fast and Furious, that's just a conspiracy theory. There's no way that the White House knew about it, even though President Obama has claimed executive privilege on the documents that were subpoenaed by the committee. And let's not forget that Attorney General Eric Holder, he's the only Attorney General in U.S. history to ever be held in contempt of Congress. Ever. But this doesn't get covered. Attorney General Eric Holder's still rocking it in his office there. He's still there. Nothing's happening to him. And that executive privilege has been extended to him and those documents. And, obviously there's something in them that Obama doesn't want us to know about it. And that's only supposed to be done. I know I'm beating a dead horse here, guys. I have talked about this to exhaustion. But I feel it's very, very important that we mention again, the only reason why executive privilege is supposed to be claimed on documents is if it could be harmful to national security. Operation Fast and Furious, they were running guns across the border, forcing these mom-and-pop stores to continue to sell guns to these gun runners, known gun runners, in order to track them across the border. And that failed. It failed. Not only did hundreds of Mexican citizens die, but Border Agent Brian Terry died as well. And then that is what caused ATF whistleblowers to come forward with the story. This is very, very important that we remember, But yet we don't hear about this in the mainstream media. The mainstream media doesn't talk about it. They say it's a conspiracy theory. And just like Obama says, oh, it's one of those phony scandals again. You know, it's more phony scandals. Oh, look, I have to tell you that I am beyond frustrated with the mainstream media. They do not cover the stories. And then when they do, they only cover a small issue with these stories. They don't focus on the real problems. And the real problems is the government overreach, the lawlessness from these people. We need to have some articles of impeachment filed, both for Obama and for Attorney General Eric Holder. We need a lot of impeachment to start right now. I think it's time for us to clean house. There's also, another reason why it hasn't happened here. We have congressional stonewalling that we've seen. Like I said, the whole national security, executive privilege on these documents, that's totally stopped the congressional investigation that's going on with this. And what are we doing about it? I don't know. We got IRS now that's targeting the Tea Party. And how did that affect the last election? The Tea Party is a huge organization. They could have some major influence on elections. And let's not forget, there have been some secondary actions that could have possibly led to Obamacare and things like that going through. I was listening to the radio not too long ago, and now I can't remember the individual's name, but there was a congressman that there was some kind of scandal with, and he ended up getting voted out of office, and a Democrat went into the office. That vote would have been the vote that could have stopped Obamacare, but no, it had an effect. And now I really wish I could remember that. I'll come back to this a little another episode here, because I can't remember how that fits into this, but I do remember that without that individual being out of office, that it did have an effect on Obamacare. And there's a lot of issues like this, guys. There are so many times where this kind of lawlessness that we see every day through IRS, Fast and Furious, we got the NSA targeting as well. All of these acts could have secondary effects that will actually move us, away from our constitutional republic, move us into this tyranny. And give me 1 second. We have some talk here in the chat room. Obamacare is the second part of the equation to abolish the middle class. And, I'll actually point out the fact, middle class, it's actually a communist, socialist kind of term. Class warfare, classes in general, kind of goes against the constitutional principle of, all men are created equal kind of thing. So I'm not necessarily sure if the abolishment of the middle class, I agree with you on the terms of Obamacare, is actually hurting the middle class. There is a middle class in this country, and it's because we've been subjugated, so to speak. But we have our elites up at the top, and we have people that are struggling to scrape by, and then the middle class is shrinking and shrinking every year. And you're absolutely right. Obamacare is part of the equation to really make us all subservient, basically. All of us be the bottom of the barrel. So I believe that our government right now is in the process of kicking out the ladder so that the elites are the only ones that can make it. They've already made it, and they're making it impossible for you and I to make it. So anyway, back to what the original Ask Mack here. The last reason why Obama has yet to been impeached, in my opinion, is a failure in the court systems. So as far as this failure, we see it with Obamacare being decided that it's okay as long as it's a tax or a penalty, depending on which way they're justifying it, and they can change that justification based on whatever they need. But there is a major failure in our court system right now to not uphold it. And even if we took this to the mat and we started actually pursuing more action against Obama and his administration, it's uncertain whether or not these activist judges will actually hold these people accountable. So there's a lot of reasons why it hasn't happened. Now, I disagree with every single one of these. And I think that there's things that we can do as a society here to actually put pressure on these. And one of those is you can contact your representatives. Write as many of your representatives as often as you possibly can and let them know what you expect from them, what you demand from them. And one of those is to hold our leaders accountable. So we really, really need to get on top of this. And that's not only, I mean, obviously that's only, you can only do so much, but your vote counts. Go out and vote. Try to actually influence change. Start groups. What can you do for liberty? Again, we're back to that. What can you do? You can do whatever you can. What do you have? What skill set? Maybe you have some special skill set. Maybe you can do a podcast like I'm doing right now, or maybe you're really good at web designing and you can create websites and you know social media really well. Then you can, actually create pages and things like that. Be inventive. Maybe you can do something that I can't even imagine because you got it like that. Find what your skill is and use it for pushing liberty forward. Turn that dial forward. Anyway, we're moving on. Thanks for the support of Mark for his question. I really do appreciate your support and for getting on the move. Again, if you guys have any questions that you would like me to answer on the air, you can ask your question in several ways. You can call us at 619-924-0986. You can email us at talk@onthemoveshow.com. You can post your questions at our Facebook, facebook.com/onthemoveshow, or you can tweet us at onthemoveshow. And make sure that you include the hashtag AskMack so I can find it. Anyway, at this point, we're going to take another quick commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to be entering into the next segment called the Mack Attack. And I hope that some of you will call in. I would like to hear your opinion about what we're going to be talking about, the Malaysian Airlines Flight 17. So, again, if you want to call in, please do 619-924-0986. Light up the lines, guys.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mack Worley III.
I am Mack Worley III, and this is On the Move, the show that attempts to inspire you to stand up for your rights. We are entering into the next segment of the show, and we like to call this one the Mack Attack. And if you guys would like to tune in or give us your input, the number of the show is 619-924-0986.
It's time for the Mack Attack!
All right, this is a segment of the show where I give you my take on outrageous events in the news. So, if you would like to join the conversation again, the number is 619-924-0986, or you can email the show at talk@onthemoveshow.com. I want to talk about the Malaysian Airlines Flight 17 that was shot down on Thursday. That was July 17th, 2014. It was shot down over Ukraine, and according to the flight manifest, released by Malaysian Airlines on Saturday, there was a lot of deaths involved in this, and you know, I'm really, really upset by this situation. But first and foremost, I'd just like to mention that there were 193 Dutch citizens on the plane, one of which was a U.S. citizen. There were 43 Malaysians, including the 15 crew members and 2 infants. There were 27 Australians, 12 Indonesians, including 1 infant, 10 Britons, including 1 dual UK and South African citizen, and 4 Germans, 4 Bulgarians, 3 Filipinos, 1 Canadian, and 1 New Zealander. So there was a lot of loss of life on this, and none of these people were combatants. None of these people were in a war zone. None of these people were involved in this situation whatsoever. They just flew over Ukraine. And the Malaysian airliner was en route from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur with 283 passengers and 15 crew members when it crashed into rebel-held territory in eastern Ukraine. U.S. officials say it was an SA-11. Now, that's the military designation, the U.S. military designation for the surface-to-air missile that downed the Boeing 777. The Russian term for this, they call it a BUK. They refer to it as a book. And anyway, this Russian missile, it was first built by the Soviet Union and is capable of shooting down jets traveling up to 70,000 feet into the air. So who shot down the plane? That's the question. Who shot it down? We're being told that by the Russians that it was the pro-separatists in Ukraine that did this. The Pentagon said on Friday that it's unlikely that the pro-Russian separatists in the East Ukraine could obtain or operate the sophisticated missile system allegedly used to shoot down the Malaysian airplane without any kind of Russian help. They couldn't have done this without Russian help. The Pentagon says that there's strong evidence that the missile was a SA-11 and it was fired by Russian-backed separatists since the missile was fired from an area controlled by the rebels. So, for me, this is outrageous to me, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. I want to talk about this situation, obviously, and the insanity that's happening from Russia right now, just basically funding people to destroy sovereignty of a country. And they're doing this without declaring an act of war. They're funding and supporting with both men and arms to these pro-Russian separatists. Many of these are Spetsnaz. They're Special Forces Russian. So this is all outrageous, first and foremost. But I have to talk for a moment about our president. Again, we're bringing it back to Mr. Obama. President Barack Hussein Obama, his reaction to this international incident that some would call an act of war. And again, we had, we have the Dutch, Malaysians, Australians, Indonesians, Britons, Germans, Belgians, Filipinos, Canadians, and New Zealanders. So all of this is an international incident. Many, many countries are now involved in this. So I have to point out Obama's reaction, though. He came out Thursday, and he gave a speech addressing the plane crash. I literally could not believe what I was hearing. It was just shocking. I heard it live, and I could not believe what I was hearing. So I have the clip here, and one thing I would also just like to point out that every time I Googled this clip, I only could find the 45 seconds or a minute that he spoke about the plane crash. And they didn't do the rest of his speech on YouTube. So I had to go to C-SPAN, and that's where actually I'm streaming this from here, to get the whole speech. And I find it a little bit disturbing that people aren't as disturbed as I am at his reaction. I'm not seeing it anywhere out there. So anyway, I got the clip. I'll go ahead and play it for you guys. And I'm going to pause it every now and then, give you my commentary on it, because it's freaking ludicrous. Anyway, here's Obama.
Everybody, please have a seat. Please have a seat. It is wonderful to be back in Delaware. Before I begin, Obviously, the world is watching reports of a downed passenger jet near the Russia-Ukraine border. And it looks like it may be a terrible tragedy. Right now, we're working to determine whether there were American citizens on board. That is our first priority. And I've directed my national security team to stay in close contact with the Ukrainian government. The United States will offer any assistance we can to help determine what happened and why. And as a country, our thoughts and prayers are with all the families of the passengers, wherever they call home. I want to thank Jeremy for that introduction. Give Jeremy a big round of applause.
Give Jeremy a big round of applause for his introduction for the president. And that's it. That's really all he does. Is he barely talked about what happened. And here's the rest. Let me know if you guys are as shocked as I was.
It is great to be in the state that gave us Joe Biden. We've got actually some better-looking Bidens with us here today.
It's been about 15 seconds in this interview here, 15, 20 seconds since he mentioned the Malaysian airline that was shot down. And now he's talking about a joke. He's making jokes right now. 15 to 20 seconds after he just talked about this. He really didn't get in depth into it, and now he's joking.
We've got Bo and his wife Hallie are here. Give them a big round of applause. We love them. We got Governor Jack Markell.
And now he's giving shout-outs to people in the audience. Shout-outs. Hey, we got so-and-so here. Give him a big round of applause.
Senator Chris Coons. Congressman John Carney. County Executive Tom Gordon. And the Mayor of Wilmington, Dennis Williams.
Oh, my God. Dennis Williams is in the audience, everyone. Forget about the Malaysian airline. We need to, everybody, clap our hands for these important people.
We've also got two terrific members of my cabinet. Transportation Secretary Anthony Fox is here. And Treasury Secretary Jack Lew is here. Jack Lew's signature is actually on your money. Although it's kind of illegible. We teased him when he first became Treasury Secretary that he was going to have to fix his signature a little bit because it looked just like a caterpillar running along the bottom.
Again, another joke. He's over here joking.
Now, the bridge behind me used to carry 90,000 cars every day. 90,000. Since last month, it's been closed for repairs. Once workers are done repairing it, this bridge will be safer. It'll be more reliable for commuters and for commerce.
I'm sorry to punish you guys with this speech, but I think it is very important that we listen to what he's talking about. He's going into his job speech right now, everyone. He went from the Malaysian airline that was shot down, and this speech, people are thinking he's going to come out and talk about this. It's very, very critical that he talks about it, and he barely touches on it. He barely says anything, 45 seconds to a minute, and then he starts joking, giving shout-outs, and now he's into his jobs speech.
For commuters and for commerce. And thanks to a competitive grant program called Tiger, a program, by the way, that was part of the Recovery Act that we initiated when I first came into office and Joe Biden helped to manage. This port is rebuilding a wharf that will finally let Wilmington compete with other ports for the biggest cargo ships. So far, Tiger grants have given a boost to 270 infrastructure projects and thousands of jobs all across 50 states. And that's what I'm here to talk about today. And I've been talking about this all week.
He's not here to talk about the plane that was just shot down. No, he doesn't care. And in fact, I'm sure you guys heard from, when he was saying, our thoughts and prayers are with you guys. Did it sound insincere to you? Because it did to me, especially immediately following with a joke and then some shout-outs, another joke, and then his job speech. The rest of this, and I won't play any more for you guys. I don't want to, punish you guys with more of this. But the rest of the speech it consists of Obama basically giving himself a round of applause. Him saying, hey, look how awesome I am. Look at all the things I've done for the economy. This is just outrageous to me. He immediately started joking, almost within the same breath that the plane was shot down. A plane that was carrying at least one American citizen. And we have to at least mention the fact that, that this is, he has actually commented, again, on Friday he came out with a speech about this, but we'll get more to that. We have to mention the fact that this is not the first time that a plane has been shot down going over Ukraine, but yet nobody is covering it. Nobody's talking about it. We don't hear about it on the news. As far as we know, this is the first time this has ever happened. So, according to Vox.com, 4 Ukrainian military planes have been shot down since June. 2 of those incidents appeared to almost certainly have been caused by rebels, apparently demonstrating that they have the ability and willingness to shoot down a plane. But the other 2 were shot down at high altitude. Like the MH17 flight that was clearly shot down, it's not clearly it's not clear who is responsible for this. And it's really important to note that these rebels don't have the ability, or at least they shouldn't have the ability, to get these kind of weapons or to know how to use them. So on June 6th, rebels shot down a Ukrainian Air Force Antonov AN-30 surveillance plane, a medium-sized 2-propeller military craft that's typically Russian-made. This was near the eastern Ukraine province again. 10 days later, on June 16th, rebels shot down a big Ukrainian Air Force transport plane, an IL-76, killing all 49 people on board. An IL-76 is much larger than an AN-30, and it has 4 jet engines. It's more the size of like the Boeing 777 that was just shot down on Thursday. There's a big but though. Is these 2 cases are very distinct from the MH17 though. An AN-30 and an IL-6 were shot down by MANPADS, which stands for Man Portable Air Defense System, a small missile launcher that you can carry on your shoulder. So it can only fire at an altitude of about 11,500 feet, but the MH17 that was shot down on Thursday was flying at 33,000 feet. That is way outside the range of the shoulder-fired MANPAD missiles. So that's why, at first, people were wondering if the rebels even had the capability to shoot down a high-flying commercial airliner like the MH17. But there was another incident just on Monday, July 14th, that did not get very much attention at the time. That day, over eastern Ukraine, an Antonov AN-26 Ukrainian military transport plane was hit by a missile while flying over eastern Ukraine at 21,000 feet altitude. That's far beyond the range of these shoulder-fired missile systems, such as the MANPADS. So, to me, it's obvious that the pro-Russian separatists are being supported with weapons and training and possibly manpower, very likely manpower, from the Russian government. It's also very likely that Russian soldiers and special forces are actually part of these pro-Russian forces. They just aren't wearing Russian uniforms. I want to talk about Mr. Putin, Vladimir Putin, the president or premier of Russia. I believe that he is following a principle from The Art of War. Sun Tzu, The Art of War, it's a book. Anyway, Sun Tzu once said, all warfare is based on deception. Hence, when we are able to attack, we must seem unable. When we are using our forces, we must appear inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe that we are far away. When we are far away, we must make the enemy believe that we are near. And again, this kind of deception we are seeing right now. He's appearing that his forces are inactive when they are very active. They are influencing what is happening on the ground there, if not actively participating. It would seem to me that Mr. Putin is following these guidelines. He's fighting a war without officially declaring war. This is a false flag. This is a real false flag. That term gets used a lot, and I think some people don't really understand what it means, but Putin has created an insurgency in Ukraine. He's orchestrated this insurgency, and he is using this to try to justify his involvement in Ukraine. He's saying that he needs to protect the Russian citizens in Ukraine when he's the one that's issuing passports and visas and things like that to these people, streamlining the process, turning Ukrainian citizens into Russian citizens, and now he has even more justification as to why he can get involved in Ukraine because, there's Russians there. We got to help them, even though they've only been Russians for a week or a month or 2 months, whatever, and it was only because he's trying to get his justification. It's not going to stop at Ukraine. Putin has eyes on all the territory from the fall of the Soviet Union. They want to get it all back. They're not going to stop just at Ukraine. This is just the tip of the iceberg, everybody. So right now, they're shooting down planes and they're taking territory, and nothing really is blowing back on Putin, at least not yet. The international community has been seeing this shadow war that Putin's conducting right now, and there's no way that these pro-Russian separatists could have gotten their hands on this kind of weaponry. Anything above 1,500 feet is more than what they were capable of doing from the Manpad's missile system. So, and again, that's shoulder-fired. That's a shoot-and-scoot kind of weapon. You can't do that, do this kind of altitude, 33,000 feet, with anything else. We believe that it was an SA-17 or I'm sorry, a SA-11 that was used, and that is it looks more like a tank with missiles on it. So it's obvious that either Russia has given weapons to the separatists or they shot the plane down themselves. So what will the response be against Russia? You know, I don't think that we're going to see anything happen. I highly doubt anything is going to come back on Russia, at least anything substantial. Oh, sure, there'll be speeches. There'll be plenty of speeches, maybe even a letter, you know, or some more phone calls. Maybe Obama can have a 3-hour phone call with Putin. And by the way, I would love to hear these phone calls that he's having, 90-minute phone calls and such with Putin. What is being said? I would love to hear that or read that transcript because I would imagine it's a lot of apologizing from Obama and Putin just thinking that this guy's an idiot. So what's going to happen? Are we going to see more sanctions put onto Russia? Maybe. I mean, but let's be real. That's not really working out so well. The truth of the matter is nobody right now wants a war with Russia. So everybody's doing these half measures. Things that will not work, they continue to put out there. It's like the red lines that aren't being enforced. And Putin sees this. We're living in a volatile time right now, and we just do not have leaders that are up to the task. And I'm not calling for war with Russia. Let me be clear. I don't want war with Russia. But what I do think is that we have really weak and spineless leaders at the helm right now. We have leaders that refuse to follow what they say they're going to do with red lines. And how did we get there? Countries like Russia and Iran, they don't simply just get emboldened overnight. They don't just wake up one day and say, hey, we're going to, screw with America a little bit here, or we're going to, invade other countries. That doesn't happen overnight. It's because we've had a major lack in leadership. We failed to act against them when they've stepped up the line for years, and it's gotten significantly worse when Obama took office. He's repeatedly issued these red line warnings that were ignored, and nothing at all was done. No substantial responses anyway. This is what happens when you draw a line in the sand and say, if you cross this, there's going to be some real consequences. And then if they cross it and test you, you do nothing but draw another red line and say, well, you better not cross that one. And then they cross that and better not do that one. And then you start writing angry letters or having 90-minute phone calls with these people. This is not a deterrent. This is not how you deter people from attacking or being aggressive. The best defense is a good offense. Make sure that people know that we're not going to tolerate this kind of stuff and actually back up what we are saying. I have to point out, I got to kind of sidetrack here for a second. I'm going to bring us into the weeds, but I'll bring us back here, guys. We are the only country in the world that has ever used nuclear technology on any other country. We dropped atomic bombs on Japan, and that kind of action, that can really have a lot of credibility to you as a country. We're the only ones that has ever done that. And what I mean by credibility, I mean a credible threat. We are a credible threat to other countries. And at the time, no one was going to mess with us. They knew that if we had to, if you back us in a corner, we will use our weapons against you. This has carried us for quite a while. I mean, it carried us through the Cold War. And now we see today that other countries have lost respect for us. They don't believe that we're going to do this anymore. They don't believe that we'll back up what we say we're going to do. In Russia, they're not the only country that we have to be concerned about. It's only going to get worse from here. China, they're doing the same tactics. I mean, and they can do more of the same tactics that Russia is doing. China has been having disputes over land with Japan and Taiwan for years. And it's only a matter of time before we start seeing the same tactics that, we see from Russia. If we start seeing that from China as well, it's only a matter of time, and other countries as well. So anyway, I would like to hear what you guys have to say about this. Give us a call. The number to the show is 619-924-0986. Again, that's 619-924-0986. We're going to cut to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/OnTheMoveShow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mack Worley III. I challenge you to a duel. Did you hear that? Sounds like it's time for a challenge. Listener challenge. Listener challenge. Listener challenge. Listener challenge.
All right, this is a segment of the show where I challenge you to do something, to get out there, get active, get on the move. All right, so this mission, if you choose to accept it, is to do some research this week, everyone. I know there's a lot of negativity out there, and there's a lot of things that can really easily fill you with the sense that it's hopeless and that there's nothing that we can do to better our situation. There there's so much negativity out there in the news, and even on this show. I mean, there's a lot of things I talk about that seem hopeless. I mean, how can we make a change? How can we affect change? Well, I'm challenging this week, guys, to do some research. All right, I want you to research our founders, our history. You know, at least one solid hour this week. I want you to find something, some way that you can learn more about our history. You know, and I don't care if you read a book. You know, we do have many books on our website, OnTheMoveShow.com. You can check the shop link there. It's the third store down. There's a book section in there. If you want to read one of those, that's fine. If you have something else that you want to do, if you want to watch a documentary or listen to an online lecture, you know, whatever you decide, just do something that you're going to get something out of it that you didn't know before. And believe me, I know you all are busy. You know, life is very, very full of things that get us distracted and pull us away from things that we love to do. But I think it's important that we take some time to research our history. Where did we come from? What did our founders have to go through? And we take some time to really educate ourselves about our history. You know, I want to just give you guys the hope that nothing is beyond our control. We are the government. We are this country. We are the people. We the people. We have total control over where we go from here, whether or not we move back towards liberty or if we keep moving into this soft tyranny that we see every day. There's a lot of things to be hopeful for. And when I hear people say it may be too late, you know, there's nothing we can do, I'm giving up, things like that, I really have to say this is not the worst things have been. I mean, when you look at the founding of this country, we had soldiers that were quartered in homes of American citizens. They were living in the homes of American citizens, spying on them, raping their wives and children. You know, we had people that were being hung for no reason just because they thought that they were a rebel. You know, there's a lot of things that were happening back then that parallel to where we are today, but even worse. So take the time, learn the history. We can come back from anything. I mean, all hope is not lost. And I hope that you all take the time to educate yourself on our history, because if we don't know our history, we are doomed to repeat it. I think it's very important. Anyway, that's this week's challenge. Stand up, speak out, get on the move. And we are going to move into the next segment of the show, and we like to call this the Weekly Defender.
And now it's time for Weekly Defender. You have the right to defend your life, the right to defend your family, and the right to defend your freedom.
All right, this is a segment of the show where I report about armed citizens in the news who have used their firearms to defend their life, their family, their property, and anything else, honestly. So our first Weekly Defender we found on NewYorkCityGuns.com. One of the spate of shootings that took place in Chicago, Illinois over the July 4th holiday weekend involved a veteran with a concealed carry permit who was forced to shoot a man who began firing on him and a group of friends. The incident occurred Friday night, the Chicago Tribune reports. The veteran and three of his friends were leaving the party on the city's south side. When the group reached their vehicle, a container with liquor was sitting on top of it. A woman from the group asked another group gathered next door who the liquor belonged to and removed it. The move angered 22-year-old Denzel McHale, who approached the veteran and his friends shouting obscenities. The man went into his residence and returned with a gun. As McHale opened fire on the group, the veteran took cover near the vehicle's front fender. According to Assistant State Attorney Mary Hain, the Chicago Tribune reports, the veteran fired 2 shots, hitting Michael both times. 2 of Michael's friends also began shooting at the group, which was able to flee the scene in their vehicle. Michael was transported to the hospital and is in critical condition. A woman in the veterans group was hit twice in the arm and once in the back, but was stabilized and taken to the hospital. Michael was charged with attempted murder and will be held on a $950,000 bail bond. Our next weekly defender we found on the Rutland Herald. Vietnam veteran Don was clerking at Mack's convenience store in Rutland, Vermont, when a masked man armed with a knife entered and demanded the money in the cash register. Don responded to the threat by drawing a .38 caliber pistol and telling the thief to get out. The robber complied and fled the store. Unfortunately, Don violated the store policy regarding carrying guns while on duty and has been suspended as a result. Following the incident, Don told a local news outlet, "The store's been robbed 8 or 9 times, and I always work nights. I'm a firm believer in having a gun and not needing it rather than the other way around. I can always find a new job." This was on June 17th, 2014. I have to comment on this for a second here. The guy defended himself against a guy with a knife, and he was fired from the store. This kind of victimology, attacking the victims of crimes, I wholeheartedly disagree with, and honestly, it's disgusting. Mack's convenience store in Rutland, Vermont, honestly, they need to take a hard look at their policies. As we all know, gun-free zones create victims. They create soft targets, and no criminal is going to respect your gun or weapon-free zone. For example, Mack's convenience store, it's a gun-free zone for the employees, and they may have a store policy that says no weapons in the store, something along those lines, but that thief didn't care. They may even have posted on the door, "No weapons of any kind" on the door. Do you think that would have stopped this thief from entering the facility? Do you think he would have seen the sign and said, "Oh, you know what? No guns or weapons allowed of any kind, so I can't bring this knife in, which means I can't rob the store. Oh, man, they have put a wrench into my whole plan here. I'm going to go somewhere else and find somewhere else that allows me to rob them and have a knife. Let me just do that." Because there's already no laws on the books for robbery, right? That we don't have any laws against robbery. So we need more laws that create gun-free zones, and we need more store policies to create gun-free zones, because right now we're living in a lawless society. There's no laws against any of these things. So, we need more, right? So anyway, I'm disturbed that this kind of policy seems to be a new trend that's going on. This isn't the first time I've heard of somebody being fired or discharged for using a weapon to defend themselves, even though they weren't the aggressor and they were solely just defending yourself. So you do have a right to defend your life, and you have a right to defend your family. Most importantly, you have a right to defend your freedom. And we at On The Move, we support your rights. And if you have a story about how you lawfully defended yourself, or you'd like to comment on one of these stories, we would love to hear from you. Give us a call. The number to the show is 619-924-0986, or you can email the show at talk@onthemoveshow.com. We'll probably be having to read those emails on the next show, so if you have anything that you want to get out there, let us know, and we'll read it on the next show. So anyway, that's our show for today. I want to thank you, our listeners and members of the Mack Pack, for tuning in week after week. You guys are the reason why I keep doing this, why we keep pumping out this show. And I just want to say thanks so much, and make sure that you share all of our statuses and stuff like that, and help spread the word about the show. Again, thank you so much for your support. I also want to say thanks again to our special guests, Kenny DeSoto Ramos and Kyle Hester from the movie Burden of Freedom. Please support their project. They're doing a really awesome community service with trying to get the message out about post-traumatic stress disorder. It touches a lot of our lives, and I think it's high time that we all actually bring some more awareness to the issue. Anyway, to get more information about our show, check us out at onthemoveshow.com, here at blogtalkradio.com, facebook.com/onthemoveshow, youtube.com/onthemoveshow, and twitter.com/onthemoveshow. And as always, know your rights, assert your rights, get on the move.